Hey friends, welcome back to Hardscapes Urban Homestead. My name is Michaela. Really glad to have you back with me on this just glorious fall evening here in Davis, California, where I'm homesteading on a small suburban lot and a community garden plot, which is where we are today. I was just out here watering and just soaking in the cooler temperatures and this beautiful sky, and just kind of taking inventory of the infrastructure I've put in here at the community garden in the couple of months since I acquired it, and kind of where I want to go from here, and just doing a little planning. And I thought this might be a good time to just sit down and have a chat with y'all, share this space with you formally. I've made a couple of shorts about it, but I don't think I've made a longer video about it, so just share this space and also use this as an opportunity to talk again about the values and mindsets that accompany a homesteading lifestyle. One of the first videos on this channel talks about homesteading as a set of mindsets, a set of values, more so than any specific sort of land that one might be living on. And then since then, here and there, I've been making videos that focus on one particular of those mindsets and values, and just showing you how that has shown up in my journey with urban homesteading. And as I'm looking around this community garden plot, this is definitely a great opportunity to talk about the homesteading mindset of resourcefulness. So let me show you around this space, and let's have a chat about resourcefulness. So firstly, as you can kind of see behind me, this community garden is a pretty decent sized plot of land that's been operated through the city of Davis for decades, so very, very, very long time. And it's been maintained as an organic space for community members to operate a little plot of land, because we're in the middle of the city and, our backyards aren't huge. So it's been a really wonderful resource. When I first moved here in 2010, I got a community garden plot, and then over the course of time, I had to give that plot up. It wasn't a good season for me to be having to manage both sites, and so I let it go. And here, about 10 years later, I was ready to step into this space again, and as luck would have it, they offered me the very same plot that I had exited 10 years ago, plot A11. So that's where we were just sitting a moment ago. And as you can see, there is this bed frame here over my little sit-in chair. I really believe every garden should have a sit-in space, because we need to be able to spend time here, observe the space, and really, enjoy the moments in the garden that are not just about working. As you can see, I've laid this space out using edging bricks, and kind of going around the perimeter of the space. It's about 18 by 21 foot space, with these two center plots. Currently, I've got onions planted over here. I've got some Brussels sprouts, some beets, and some kale over here. And the center of that plot I'll fill with garlic once I get my seed garlic. Probably tuck garlic in between other spots as well. Over in that corner, we have some broccoli, another patch of beets, another patch of broccoli, a patch of cabbage with some rutabagas intertwined, another patch of broccoli, again with rutabagas, and then coming down this row, we've got some cauliflower, and then this last patch here is kohlrabi. And already growing on the fence when I adopted this plot was this beautiful passion flower vine. I am not sure if this is an edible variety of passion flower. If any of you know, let me know. I need to do some research. It's got these gorgeous flowers, and it makes fruit that look a lot like maypops, which are the inedible version, but we shall see. So anyway, this is the little plot. It's not a big space, but it definitely increases my growing capacity, especially in full sun. My house, the plots at my house are, many of which are in the shade. This last little plot here, I haven't filled in with compost. The previous owner of this plot had a bunch of peppermint in here, so there's a ton of mint, and that will of course continue growing until the end of time. And so I embrace the presence of this beautiful mint and will appreciate it. So, resourcefulness. This plot came as a bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't quite ready to take one on. A neighbor of mine asked if I would kind of go in on a plot with her. I said, sure. She was going to take care of a lot of the labor. And then she very suddenly had to move away. And I found myself in possession of this plot and responsible for setting it up. It was a totally blank slate when we got here. And I wasn't particularly prepared for that. I didn't have materials ready. I didn't have budget set aside to purchase materials. I didn't have soil. I didn't have anything. It was literally just a big old bare square. But I really wanted to get something in the ground for the fall garden. Fall is a really wonderful time to garden in our region because it's so hot over the summer. So I had to turn to probably one of my very favorite homesteading mindsets, which is resourcefulness. And of course, this is the idea that the mindset that we are surrounded by resources, that there are plenty of resources available in our communities, things that people do not want anymore that might be of use to us, and that they should be utilized, right? That resources shouldn't go to waste. They shouldn't go to landfills. They shouldn't go in somebody's garage for 20 years and not be touched. That as much as possible, we want to use the materials that we have. Of course, there's a sustainability component to that, and there's a frugality component to that. And both of those have been a very motivating factor for me over the years in developing a mindset of resourcefulness. Certainly, not having a lot of disposable income to pour into, bettering my physical spaces and doing more complex projects has played into that, and also a very deep kind of value system and ethic around sustainability and around using resources that already exist in our community ecosystems. And I'm really grateful at this point in my life when I'm really focusing my attention on expanding my homesteading efforts, that I have spent many years, decades developing this mindset because it absolutely serves me well. And it's required me to kind of push some comfort levels around certain things, right? Because the easy thing is to go to the store or go to the internet and just buy the thing that you need. Buy the edging bricks, buy the T-posts, buy the soil, buy the plants that you need, get it all in one fell swoop, bring it over, get the job done. In order to procure what you need outside of just going to the store where you can buy it, you need, firstly, to maybe have a little bit more flexibility in your expectations, be a little bit open about what would be an acceptable material to use. So for example, these red edging bricks wouldn't have been my first choice of a material to use, but they were offered to me for free. Just kind of scouring the Facebook marketplace, a neighbor was offering 100 of them, a stack of 100 of these edging bricks, for free to anyone who would haul them away. So, I had to do a little bit of detective work, keep an eye on those listings for a few days before I saw it. And then I needed to invest the time and the sweat equity because, as the adage goes, things are going to cost either time or money, if not both. So generally, if you're not going to spend the money, you're going to spend time and effort. So it was certainly an effort, loading all 100 of these into my car, driving them back here, unloading them, and then laying them out in this configuration. It took a lot of effort, and I had to go get a back massage because it messed me up a little bit. But overall was worth the effort because it was literally to the brick exactly the number that I needed to create the layout that I had in mind. I felt really clear about the layout that I wanted, but the material that I could have used to achieve that layout was open, was flexible. And so I was willing to use a material that wouldn't have been my first choice because it was available. It was a resource that was in the community available. Similarly, this bed frame here that will eventually be climbing with plants, and will create a little plant cave to sit in and enjoy the garden. This was like literally on the side of the road. Somebody was dumping it. It was going to be a problem, honestly, like literally garbage on the street that didn't need to be there. And I was able to just envision how I might use it. I knew I wanted some sort of arched space to create a comfortable, shady sitting spot, and this bed frame will work perfectly fine. Again, not the material I would have chosen if I was designing it from scratch, but something that works perfectly well. The T-posts a neighbor had, and I just asked them for it. Which is a bit of a discomfort edge for me, like asking people, for their resources is a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. I generally will offer a trade, whatever I've got, eggs, pomegranates, help with other stuff, whatever it is. But oftentimes, if people have stuff that they are not using, they are happy to let it go to use and be off of their property. So I got a handful of T-posts. I need more. I need probably 9 more or so. I want to go a little bit taller with the cattle panel fencing that was already here on 2 sides. And then I want to put in cattle panel fencing on the other 2 sides and go kind of 2 deep. I am keeping my eye out for those panels. I would love to be able to find them through community resourcefulness. It may end up being something I need to just go pick up over at Home Depot. We shall see. But I have some time because I don't need those in until the spring for planting beans. So I've got, several months to come up with those materials. And so that's the other piece around resourcefulness, is that it often requires more planning, requires us to think ahead, to kind of know what's coming up, what the priorities are, what materials we absolutely need to have in place at a certain time, and which ones can be flexible and we can take a little bit more time with. The reason to spend money on something if we, can't find it includes timing. When we need something right away, we just might not have the time to come up with it. Sometimes we really do want something specific, right? We want a specific item. We don't have flexibility about what fills a particular need, and those, that would be a good reason to potentially purchase it. That's going to be the case on a fence that I'm building over at the house to enclose a patio. I want to use a particular arched trellis that matches another one that I have. There's no way I'm going to just find that for free somewhere. So I'll be ordering another of those. So there's good reasons to, buy something specific and spend the money. And using discernment to know when we have the time and we have the flexibility to get a little bit resourceful with what we use. That is a really important value of the homesteading lifestyle, because there will always be materials that we need. Like, we'll always need more soil. We'll always need more construction materials. We'll always need more tools. It's a materials heavy lifestyle. But those materials are very flexible. There's lots of things that can fill the jobs, generally speaking. Now, the last thing that was acquired through resourcefulness for this patch is the soil itself. Now, this one is a little bit controversial in my local gardening groups, and people just have to make their own decisions about what feels right for them. And that is the use of the compost that is made through the city's green waste composting system and made available for free to residents at the local landfill. So, many cities will have a green waste pickup bin where households will put their food scraps and their garden scraps, and then all of that gets taken to the dump and they put it through a massive composting system, and they end up with just heaps and heaps and heaps of compost. And twice a year here at our local landfill, they make that available for free to residents. It's usually about a 2-month period in the fall and a 2-month period in the spring. And for those of you who garden, For those of you who have put in brand new beds, and especially if you like to work in raised beds, you know how much money can be spent on quality soil. It's a lot. And I've been putting in tons of new beds, and my preference is for raised beds to spare my back. I've been going through a lot of soil. Most of my beds at home are made with the hugelkultur method, which uses layers of wood and brush and green waste and compost underneath the soil level. That has many, many benefits. I might do a video about that next time I'm working on one. That helps because it fills a lot of the space in the bed with materials that are readily available and free. But you still need, 18 inches or so, at least a foot of good soil on top. So the compost from the landfill, on the one hand, is good soil. It's been composted from, all the right materials coming from households and gardens. On the other hand, we have no control over what those raw materials are, and it absolutely includes, plastic and glass, and is definitely not organic because people, will put stuff that had pesticides in it from their garden and from their kitchen. There's always little bits of, glass or plastic that just, ended up in the green waste bin instead of the trash or recycling. And that's just a reality of using this material. My preference is to mix it with, organic soil that I've purchased or the compost that I make at home, which I, of course, have control over. But I've only got so much space for home composting. Very small percentage of what I need I can make at home. For this new community garden plot, which I, again, wanted to get something in here for the fall. I basically had a couple of weeks to get it put together before the planting window started to get narrow. So I very happily went to the landfill several times and loaded up my whole car with buckets full of this free resource and have filled all of the beds with it. At least about 4 inches or so on top of the soil. Now the soil here at the community garden is good soil. Like, it's been well tended for many, many, many years. But this plot has been unused for a very long time, and the soil is very dry and has a lot of weed seeds, and it just felt like it needed a refresh. So, I made that choice knowing full well that it is not organic, that there is materials in there that I would... Train is going by. There's probably been a lot of background noise in this video because the community garden is right next to a fairly busy street, so apologies for the background noise. Anyway, I made the choice with full knowledge of what I was getting into. Moving forward, I'll probably opt to use homemade compost or purchase soil just to top it off, but I won't need nearly as much because the depth has already been put in. The last thing is mulching the pathways. I'll just show you here. So there's that compost, it's nice and black, and then these pathways, that are in between will need to be mulched. They're already getting a nice coat of weeds there. So I'll need to get mulch for that. And similarly, I have access to free sources of mulch from a local farm. And it's going to just cost me the sweat equity and the time to go out there and shovel it and haul it back here. Now, honestly, sometimes I don't want to shovel and haul and drag and hurt my back. I just don't want to. There are times when I'm like, I'm not gonna. And those times, you just gotta weigh what are the alternatives, right? Waiting. I don't need to mulch these paths immediately. They can certainly wait a little bit longer, or spending the money. In this case, for the mulch, I'm not going to spend the money on buying mulch. I'll go haul it. It's not a problem. But I'll probably wait a little bit longer to just get a little bit of rest. Let's see. I think that is about it. Well, there's the plants themselves. That's another place to get resourceful. Being part of community garden groups, having neighbors and other folks in your community who also garden, gives us access to a lot of barter, a lot of trade, a lot of excess in the realm of seeds and plants. So I think just about all of the plants, with one exception, that are planted here now, I was able to get as surplus from a friend's farm. The cabbages I did purchase because she had no cabbages and it was too late in the season to plant them from seed. So I just bought a 6-pack of cabbages. It's not that many. And then I keep a pretty robust seed collection. So, the beets and the rutabagas and the kale, I just had the seeds for. So basically, bottom line is, at this point, with a fully planted fall garden here at the community garden, I have not spent... That's not exactly true. I haven't spent a penny, except I lost the loose key handle for the watering spigot, and I had to go buy one today. So that needed to happen because I hadn't watered in a few days looking for this silly thing. So I spent $10 on a new one. But all in all, that's not too bad. I've got a fully planted garden. I've spent $10. It's all ready to go. I've got my plan in place for how to continue building the infrastructure, what the next steps are, and I've got some time to get it done. So I'll be going back to the places that I look for free stuff, keeping an eye out for those cattle panels or hog panels and whatever other pieces I need. And then next up, beautification. We need to bring some pretty things here because really our gardens should be beautiful spaces that we want to spend time in. I know for me, I take much better care of my garden when I find it beautiful and compelling, which is why I laid this out in kind of an interesting pattern as opposed to just putting in rows. My whole life as a gardener, 25 years or so, I cannot grow in rows. It does not work for my brain. My brain rebels and I end up messing the rows up in some way. So I just got to go with that. Just make it pretty. Alrighty. That's what I've got to say for you today. I'm really happy to be able to introduce you to this new gardening space. And I'd love to hear the ways in which you have been resourceful in your garden, in your kitchen, in your homestead, in your life generally. What's your favorite way to access resources that you can pay for through barter, through your time, your energy, and not your money? Let us know. Let us create a wealth of resources and ideas for how to be more resourceful in our homesteading journey. And as you do so, may you be deeply provisioned on those efforts. Thanks so much for joining me. Till next time, I love you. Goodbye.